Good afternoon, I'm Jacqueline. It's been a month since New Year's. It's been very cold recently.
Já estamos no final de janeiro e ultimamente tem feito muito frio, você não acha?
Good afternoon, I'm Vanya Ishikura. The climate in Brazil is the opposite of here in Japan. It must be in the middle of summer there.
É mesmo. Bem, como
Well, we
anunciamos
announced in
no
the previous
programa
program
anterior,
today we will
hoje
talk
vamos
about the
falar
flu.
sobre a
An alert
influenza,
about
que
a
devido
flu
ao período da
epidemic was issued in
epidemia,
SHIGA.
aqui em SHIGA foi emitido o aviso de alerta.
Right, the flu is spreading among my friends too. I heard my neighborhood had the spread of influenza. Some classes near my home had to be closed temporarily because of influenza at school.
Bem, por isso no
We continue the
programa
theme,
Tudo
let's
Bem,
have a
SHIGA
safe
de
winter.
hoje,
Today we will talk about preventing influenza and other infectious diseases and how to avoid infection.
Vamos falar sobre prevenção contra a influenza e outras doenças contagiosas, apresentando alguns cuidados básicos que podemos tomar para evitar o contágio.
Pois
Let's
é,
start talking about
então
influenza
vamos
or
falar
the
sobre a
flu.
influenza.
Bom, quando falamos
The
sobre
image of
influenza
influenza is high fever. I asked what kind of disease influenza was. What kind of disease is influenza? Influenza is an infectious disease caused by the influenza virus. The common flu symptoms are sore throat, runny nose, coughing, and sneezing. Symptoms of influenza are high fever, over 38 degrees Celsius, and pain throughout the body such as joint pain, headaches, and muscle pain, besides cough and sore throats. If the fever is not over 38 degrees, is it not influenza? If the fever is not over 38 degrees Celsius, things like medication, age, or even taking the influenza vaccine affects the temperature, and you could still have influenza. If you feel something strange, call your doctor. Don't diagnose a disease by yourself. In young children, pregnant women, and the elderly, and people with any disease, influenza can cause complications. They need to be careful. As the influenza epidemic has raged since the end of December, red alert notices about the danger of influenza epidemic was announced in SHIGA on January 7th to call attention. The influenza epidemic usually continues until the end of March. During this cold period, we must be careful for influenza. If we have influenza, would we be suffering? Let's see how we can prevent it. It's important to be careful not to contract and not to transmit influenza. We should do the following things.
Então, atenção aos seguintes cuidados. Evite multidões
Avoid
e locais
crowds
com
and
muita
places
gente.
with many people.
Lave
Wash
bem
your
as
hands
mãos
and
e
gargle
faça
when you get
gargarejo
home.
sempre que chegar em casa.
Rest
Alimente-se
well
e
and keep the
descanse
room
bem,
temperature
e
and
mantenha a
humidity
temperatura
appropriate.
e umidade adequadas.
If
Se
you have a
tiver
cough,
tosse,
use
use
mask.
máscara. E
Take
tome a
the
vacina
preventative
preventiva.
vaccine. The
O modo
most
mais
simple way to
simples e
prevent
eficaz de
against
prevenir
infection
contra o
is to wash your
contágio é
hands.
lavar
Wash
bem as
hands
mãos.
with soap regularly
Procure
to
lavar
remove
as mãos com
viruses on
sabonete
hands.
periodicamente. Lave bem para eliminar o vírus que pode se alojar nas mãos.
I always
Sempre
wash
lava
my
as mãos bem
hands.
direitinho.
Mas será que
Right,
estamos lavando
but
as mãos
are we
corretamente
washing hands
mesmo?
properly? Let's see
Eu
how
fui
to
conferir
wash hands
também
properly.
o modo correto de lavar as mãos.
Why is it important to wash your hands? During the influenza epidemic, the virus may be housed in multiple locations. When we touch these sites with our hands, there is a possibility the virus gets on your hands. If you touch your face and mouth with the hands without realizing it, you will be infected. Therefore, it is important to wash your hands often to wash the virus off your hands. We did an experiment. In this experiment, we used a fluorescent lotion and black light to see I wash my
medir a
hands
radiação
properly.
eletromagnética ultravioleta para verificar. Primeiro,
First, I put
passei a
fluorescent lotion on my
fluorescente nas
hands,
mãos,
pretending
fazendo
that
de
it is
conta
the
que são os
influenza
vírus da
virus.
influenza. Em seguida, apliquei a
Then I
black
put my
light
hands
para
under the
conferir.
black light to check. As
Como
we can
podemos ver,
see,
dá para
they are
perceber
not
a
clean.
sujeira nitidamente. Depois disso, lavei
After
as mãos
that, I
normalmente,
washed my hands
como
as
sempre
usual.
costumo
It
fazer.
seems that I washed my hands well,
Bem,
but
aparentemente,
did I
parece
eliminate
que
the
eu lavei bem as
uncleanliness?
mãos, mas será que consegui eliminar a sujeira? Dá para
You can
ver que
see
entre os
that the
dedos
area
e os
between the
punhos
fingers
ainda
and
estão
wrists are
sujos.
still dirty.
Desse
We
jeito,
will
a gente
transmit
corre o
influenza
risco de
virus to
transmitir o
others with
vírus
these
da
dirty
influenza para
hands.
outras pessoas. Então, agora eu vou fazer a demonstração
So
da
now
maneira
I'm going
correta
to
de lavar as
demonstrate
mãos.
how to wash hands
Como
properly.
fiz
The
antes,
same
vou
as
passar a
before, I will
loção
put the
fluorescente
fluorescent
e
lotion and
conferir
check.
novamente.
1. Get your hands wet with running water and then make enough foam with soap. 2. Wash and rub your hands and the back of the hands well. 3. Wash your fingertips and inside nails. 4. Wash between your fingers. 5. Be sure to wash your thumbs and around them and the ends of your hands. 6. Wash wrists well too. 7. Rinse well with running water. 8. Wipe hands with a clean towel and dry them well.
Bem, então vamos ver. Vamos
Let's see,
conferir
I
de
put
novo
my hands under the
utilizando
black
a
light. As we can see now, the hands
Como
are
podemos
really
ver,
clean.
agora estão realmente limpas.
I washed my hands properly.
Parece que é
Your
só
hands
assim mesmo
became
para as
clean.
mãos ficarem
I wash my
realmente
hands like this
limpas,
from
né?
now on. As we touch our mouth and
Vou
nose with our
procurar me
hands
adaptar
without
a
realizing it,
essa
it is
forma
important
de
to
lavar
wash
as
hands
mãos.
properly.
E geralmente, como a gente sempre, sem perceber, acaba levando a mão na boca e no nariz, vendo essas demonstrações, dá para entender o quanto é importante lavar as mãos corretamente.
É verdade.
Yes, it is very important not to catch or spread the virus. Another way to avoid spreading the virus is using a mask. Do you know the expression cough etiquette?
Conhecem a expressão etiqueta da tosse? Ou seja, bons modos para quando for espirrar ou tossir?
The cough etiquette is to prevent saliva from spreading around people when coughing or sneezing. The influenza virus can infect people through saliva expelled by coughing or sneezing. Therefore, it is important to follow the cough etiquette.
咳エチケットを心がけて他の人にうつさないようにすることが重要になります。
1. Back off and keep some distance from people around. It seems that the droplets from a cough or sneeze can reach up to about 2 meters away. 2. When coughing or sneezing, turn your face to the other side of people and cover your mouth and nose with a tissue. We should avoid spraying droplets on people around. If you are not wearing a mask, cover your mouth and nose with a tissue, and then throw the tissue in the trash right away. If you do not have a tissue, cover with your forearm rather than cover with your hands. We don't touch people with our forearm often. 3. Wash your hands that covered your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Wash hands properly with soap after covering mouth and nose from coughing or sneezing. 4. Use a mask. When you cough or sneeze, always try to use a mask. Do not leave the unused mask in the open. Throw it in the trash right away. It is very important that people infected with influenza use a mask to avoid infecting people around. We advise all to use a mask correctly so as not to transmit and to prevent against influenza.
また予防のためにマスクをする方もマスクの正しい着用方法に心がけてください。
This is the correct method of using a mask. First, cover your nose and mouth fully. Put the rubber string around your ears and fix the mask so that it fits snugly without gaps on the nose. Use disposable masks, at least one mask per day. Do not wash or sterilize them. I have started wearing a mask since I came to Japan, just in case I have a cold, cough, or a sneeze. I always have extra masks, a tissue pack, and a plastic bag in my bag.
Tenho sempre como reserva na bolsa máscaras, lenços de papel e uma sacolinha de plástico.
Nossa, que bom, você está
That's
fazendo
good.
direitinho.
I learned from the video that simple acts are such an important thing. Following cough etiquette correctly will help protect the people around
a
us.
etiqueta da tosse corretamente, estaremos protegendo as pessoas ao nosso redor.
Let's review how to prevent against influenza again.
Meios de prevenção contra a influenza.
Sim, todos nós devemos tomar cuidado.
It's important to
para
be
não
careful
contrair
not to
e não
contract and not to
transmitir a
transmit influenza. We
Atenção aos
should do the
seguintes
following
cuidados.
things.
Evite
Avoid
multidões
crowds
e
and
locais
places
com
with
muita
many
gente.
people.
Lave
Wash
bem
your
as
hands
mãos
and
e
gargle
faça
when you get
gargarejo
home.
sempre que chegar em casa. Alimente-se
Rest
e
well and
descanse
keep
bem,
the room
e
temperature and
mantenha a
humidity
temperatura
appropriate.
e umidade adequadas. Se
If you
tiver
have a
tosse,
cough,
use
use
máscara.
masks.
E tome a vacina
Take a
preventiva.
preventative vaccine.
E além
If
disso,
you think you
se
have the
desconfiar que
flu,
está com
go see a
influenza,
doctor.
é melhor procurar um médico, não é mesmo?
Com certeza. E mais
For
uma
sure.
coisa, durante
In the
o
winter,
inverno,
we also
precisamos
need to be
tomar
careful
cuidado
with
também
food poisoning
com a
caused by
intoxicação alimentar
norovirus.
provocada pelo norovírus.
Intoxicação
Food poisoning?
alimentar?
But isn't it
Mas
in the
não é no
rainy
frio,
season and the summer when we
e no
need to be
verão que
careful with it?
precisamos tomar esses cuidados?
Sim, é verdade, mas o
Yes,
pico
but the
do
peak of the
norovírus que
norovirus,
provoca a
which causes
intoxicação
food poisoning,
alimentar,
is during the
durante o
winter.
inverno.
What if we are infected with the norovirus? The symptoms are nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, violent diarrhea, and fever. You see these symptoms in 24 to 48 hours after ingestion. The average is 36 hours later. The elderly and infants can be choking on vomit, and it can cause aspiration pneumonia. They can get hydrated too. So we have to be careful about conditions. Is there any way that we can prevent norovirus? Washing hands is important. Usual means of disinfection against food poisoning, such as alcohol and invert soaps, are not efficient for noroviruses. We have to wash hands properly and wash off the virus physically. When we cook, the center of the food should be between 85 to 90 degrees Celsius for more than 90 seconds. When serving, avoid touching food with our hands. Wash utensils with boiling water or sodium hypochlorite solution regularly. Norovirus is so highly contagious that when we clean up vomit, use disposable gloves to avoid infection.
嘔吐物を処理する際には使い捨て手袋等を使用し、処理する人も感染しないようにしなければなりません。
A norovirus food poisoning warning has been issued in SHIGA. We need to be very careful with the virus.
Devido ao norovírus. Por isso, vamos tomar muito cuidado.
Today we have talked about Let's Have a Safe Winter, Part 2, how to avoid infection with influenza and other diseases.
Cuidados para evitar o contágio com a influenza e entre outros. A seguir,
Some useful information follows. Speech contest in Japanese for foreigners. The 11th annual speech contest in Japanese for foreigners, Transmitting My Feelings, will be held. Foreign residents in SHIGA will tell us how they feel about the daily life and what they learn from the daily life. This will be held on February 11th, Wednesday holiday, from 12:40 p.m. in Piazza Omi in Otsushi, Nionohama. Admission is free. Everyone is welcome. If you are interested, please come. More information in the Secretariat of Biwako Nihongo Network.
A entrada é gratuita e aberta a todos os interessados. Não deixem de prestigiar. Maiores informações no Secretariado da Biwako Nihongo Network.
Tax returns. Consultation and acceptance of declaration of final tax return of income tax and special income tax for reconstruction of 2014 is from February 16, 2015, Monday, to March 16, Monday. Final tax return is an important procedure to pay or get a refund for the taxes paid. Please don't forget to declare if you need to. The necessary documents vary depending on the person. Please make sure what you need. It would be easier if you went accompanied by someone who speaks Japanese.
Os documentos necessários variam de acordo com a pessoa. E para que os trâmites do zenbusho sejam realizados com eficácia, recomendamos que vá acompanhado de alguém que compreenda o japonês.
The Nagahama Bonbai Exhibition. Nagahama Bonbai Exhibition has been held every year as a tradition of New Year. Has begun this year too. It's held in Keiukan in the city of Nagahama, open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The fee for adults is 500 yen and 200 yen for elementary and junior high school students. The exhibition will be held until the 10th of March. Please come and enjoy the sweet scent of ume.
E 200 ienes para estudantes do primário e ginásio. A exposição será realizada até o dia 10 de março. Vamos apreciar e conhecer esta arte, sentindo o cheirinho gostoso de ume.
Next time, we're going to talk about preventing earthquakes, learning from past disasters.
Não percam. Até a próxima.
See you next time.
Tchau, tchau.
Tchau, tchau.